Alright, what's up y'all? So, still working on framing up the script for these materials so I can drip it into a film type of format, which is fine, but welcome. Welcome to Caffeine and Conspiracies. Alright, now, whew. Yeah, that's good. I got my sheet, my handy dandy sheet. I just want to encourage you guys that if you know people who are open to hearing this information, share it. But if someone's super hardened, right? And you know, let's say for instance they truly dislike President Trump, probably aren't going to want to hear this information. They probably have been so warped and brainwashed by the mainstream media. And I speak that in love. It's not in condemnation, but in love. You know, it's one of those things. It's tough. I'll just run through this real quick. So when I voted, I heard some of the materials that were coming out, the mainstream media, but I've always distrusted the mainstream media. I've never really had a fair amount of trust in the mainstream media, and you know, I'm a veteran. My time in the Navy was a little different than most. Grateful for many experiences, and if you poll the U.S. military or DoD, very few in service or post service really do believe the mainstream media. It's from what I've seen. This is what I've seen. So I didn't really trust most of that anyway. So I voted, and fast forward, you know, being in the industry, the film industry, you got to be like real hush hush if you don't agree with the hard left narrative. So you can't really share that. It's one of those things, and that's unfortunate. But this is the industry that I'm in. So let's just talk about a couple things. I'm gonna run through as efficiently as I can. So now the original narrative was that Trump was a Russian spy. At this very moment, if you want to go look at Dan Bongino, he's a former Secret Service officer or agent, phenomenal breakdown of Spygate, Russiagate, Ukrainegate, Obamagate now. Really great job. Phenomenal person, phenomenal commentator. And he just does it really well. So far, you know, the whole Spygate thing is like this Russian collusion, this Ukrainian collusion. Well, if you're paying attention, you know what I'm about to say. And if you're not, it's okay. Again, this is going to be, you know, very simply put. Uranium won. I'm laughing because it's crazy. Much information and evidence has been gathered to show that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Joe Biden and other people sold uranium to the Russians. Whoa. Right? So-called our adversary, our number one adversary in the world, which I don't think is true anyway, but it's very interesting, you know. There's that, and then now we're seeing that more information of extortion and bribery and that's the heavy claims, but it's there. Basically, Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was being investigated, and Joe said, "Hey, you gotta fire him, or we ain't gonna do this. $1 billion, $1 billion, taxpayers' money going to Ukraine for who knows what, right? Who knows?" And then fast forward. The secretary resigned, or the investigators resigned, and word was given back to Joe. This is all on audio, and it's right here in front of us. Not in front of us, but in front. It's like right here. You can't hide it anymore. And the deal was done. Whoa, huge. And then it also comes out the illegal unmasking. And I didn't even know what these things were for a long time. And now here's a great opportunity to learn what these things are. Unmasking of General Flynn and others. What? And information being feloniously, I know it's a big word. I know it's the only big word I know. Felonious. Felony, right? It's a felony. Offense. Felonious. To the media. Wow. Wow. And the biggest names in current politics, former, administration, all involved in this. Not just involved, but blatantly, in your face. We don't care about the ethics. We don't even care if it's, unconstitutional, if it's against the law. We don't care. And I really believe enough people are waking up to this that either we see legitimate justice done, right, to the full extent of the law, the truth, or the latter. But I believe that we have a country that must be salvaged and grow and expand. And I believe God endowed us all, not just America, but the whole world, for freedom, for truth, for justice. And this goes way deeper than all this. The whole New World Order thing, that whole thing doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore when you look at all the collective things that are happening right now, accumulating to this very moment, culminating, words. So, we look at the $7+ billion that was paid to Iran, that was hidden, one in a financial, in a cash flow on a plane over, and then two separate individual electronic deposits or transactions, and our U.S. sailors that were allowed to be captured. And then we look at the Bergdahl, this guy that was traded over for I think 4 or 5 big time terrorists. It's just wow. We look at for a minute we just look at the coronavirus. So China has said it came from the military, our U.S. military first. They backtracked that, and they said it came from a wet market, from a bat. And then there's multiple sources that are saying, no, they don't. There's no bat, and there's no bats that live within 900 miles. And then we look at the labs, multiple labs in the Wuhan area, and we look at the doctor, I can't remember her name, Dr. Shi, I don't know if it's Shi or Z. Go look it up. It's okay. I ain't claiming to know everything. I'm just pointing out some crazy things that are happening. So her photo was removed from the school that she went to and replaced with a Google stock photo, because all this was boiling up. She'd been working on this coronavirus, this crossbreeding of this coronavirus, so they can be easily transmissible to humans for like years. A bill was passed making it illegal, essentially, to fund foreign virology labs. And after it was passed, the NIH under Dr. Fauci and under Barack Obama continued to pay this specific lab in Wuhan to develop this specific, well, you could say, was this specific or was it just a lab in general? Either way, it was not a legal act to do so for multiple years after the signing of this bill. So there's an ongoing investigation behind this all. So, it wouldn't seem Mao if China didn't lie multiple times, and if it wasn't like a slowly uncovered, thing. If it was just all transparent out in the open, there'd be one thing. But the fact that it keeps coming out, one thing after another, boom, and then the mainstream media will maybe show it for a fraction of a second, and then boom, oh no. Like they'll freak out and go back to the fear-mongering, if you look at love and fear, right? Love and fear, they're both energies, right? They're both energies. And it's almost like the mainstream media, and I believe, and looking more true and true, is the deep state, is sucking the life force out of us by charging us with this fear, this undertone, this disgusting, I believe in the truth, but I believe we have to approach it a certain way so we don't give way to our fear. So that's my opinion. We look at the World Health Organization is getting booted out of one country after another. We have Australia and 120 plus countries that are also pushing for a deep dive investigation into China. We have the fight with hydroxychloroquine and the VA study that came out that was manipulated, and medical professionals, scientists, doctors of all fields, they're saying one thing and they're coming up and saying this doesn't make sense, and they're getting shut down by the mainstream media. And all because Dr. Fauci's been propped up as the expert, which is okay. All right, I'll give him that. But he also said that, not to wear a mask. Don't wear a mask if you're not feeling ill, if you're outdoors, if you're away from people. Why are you? And we have these governors, these tyrannical governors and mayors that are overreaching, telling people and or encouraging strongly that people wear a mask all the time, which is also counterproductive for multiple things. You look at psychological health. I mean, how many people have PTSD, depression, anxiety? And right when you put that thing on, well, it amplifies in a very big way. We're looking at 1,000% increase in suicide hotline calls. And we are ready. I've talked to multiple friends of mine and connections of mine, and I've looked at articles like it was flatten the curve, and now it's stay home until we have a cure or a vaccine. And then we look at the fight with Bill Gates, this guy who's been propped up as a philanthropist. I wasn't privy to it for a long time, but now looking at it, it's like he's getting sued by multiple countries. There are countries that are openly, like Italy, just recently was talking. This lady came up and she disclosed all of it. She's like, this guy's dirt. He's dirt, and he needs to be arrested. He needs to be charged. But why won't people go after him? Because he's one of the most powerful people in the world. He stepped down from Microsoft, appointed a new CEO, just like 2.5 months ago, and then this new CEO brought in Marina Abramovic, whatever you want to say her name. She is a known Satanist, Luciferian practices. She does spirit cooking. Go check that out. That's freaking crazy. And you could say it's art, but if you have any sort of if you believe in good and evil, right? I think we should all believe in good and evil. They exist. I think it's very important to go out and to see these things and to know that this is not good. This is not good at all. So they appointed her, and the whole internet blew up. Boom. And they took the video down. Microsoft took the video down off YouTube. Now you have YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram that come out and saying, if you speak against the World Health Organization, we'll take you down. We have Facebook saying, if you're at a protest, we will kick you off Facebook, period. And it's not even that, it's like reaching into like this other thing. It's like, if it's anything, now at this point I've seen things taken down or banned or flagged. It doesn't have to do with the coronavirus at all. But if you're saying anything that is anything other than the narrative, they're flagging it. What? Just wow. We are in the moment. We're seeing attacks on our First Amendment. We're seeing open attacks on our Second Amendment. Fourth and Fifth Amendments. Well, not Fifth so much, but the Fourth. It's a good moment to step back and to look at these Bill of Rights, to look at the Bill of Rights, to look at our Declaration of Independence, to look at the Constitution. These are good. It's a good moment to go look at these materials right now, to educate yourself. Right? People want, this utopiastic, if that's a word, society brought on by a big government, but they don't realize that you can't trust the big government's going to work out, because power corrupts, right? And we can want the utopiastic society, but that if we want that, we should not have to sacrifice our freedoms for it, right? And again, it goes to the point, like, just because you don't want there to be bad in the world does not mean there is not. I think we're going to see some interesting things happen. Africa is rising up. Big things are happening in Africa. What was on those emails? Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails that were actually absorbed into Google, that they have a court order to reveal that they actually missed. So they're in deep water. And they were also released to Julian Assange, I believe, most of them, through WikiLeaks. So you can go check out some of that stuff. Why is she talking about sacrificing a chicken to Moloch? What does that mean? Why did Barack Obama spend $65,000 on hot dogs? Well, what does that mean? Go check out FBI database and what they say about those meetings. What was on Anthony Weiner's laptop? What is NYPD and the FBI doing with it right now? Who's looking at it? Why did multiple officers commit suicide after they looked at what was on it? You know, I think we are at the cusp of something very significant in our history, not as a nation, just not as only a nation, but as a people, our world, our planet. You know, I think it's very interesting. We're seeing like this mask thing. It's crazy because like you look at the differences between you know, specific particles and the size and the microns, or you know, whatever the measurement is, but the size of the coronavirus will not stop through a paper or through that simple mask that was 50 cents to make, N95, right? Or I think there's an N98, 99, but these other ones don't stop it. So what's the point of wearing it? It's the control. It's the control, right? These governors and mayors give unconstitutional executive orders, so the law enforcement is put in a position where they either enforce it or they don't. If they don't, they might lose their job, but they're adhering to the Constitution. But if they do enforce it, they're stepping on the Constitution. And this isn't about shaming anybody. This is about simply shedding a light. If the mask doesn't work, Dr. Fauci said it doesn't work unless you have the N95 or more, then why are people trying to force others to wear it? It's about the control. It's about the fear. And maybe I'm wrong. And if you're an expert on any of these subjects I've talked about, feel free to little comment in the comment section. But this is something else, y'all. You're telling me that someone's going to get cited $1,000? These are states that are passing these executive orders, most of them, that are really deep in debt before. This is predating the coronavirus. Deep debt. So they're saying they're going to fine somebody $1,000 and or possibly arrest them if they're not wearing a mask? Who measures 6 feet? Who measures that? Oh, they're too close. How do you know? You gonna bring out a freaking meter, a stick, or you know, you're gonna bring out a little tool so you can measure? How you gonna know? You gonna look at it and just assume and then pass out citations? I think it's a ploy to get people to act up for civil unrest, and or you know, just arrest people and then they're letting criminals out, like people that are charged with massive crimes. They're letting them out. So you're telling me you're gonna arrest someone for not wearing a mask or following these executive orders, which some of them are fairly and obviously unconstitutional, but you're gonna let these people, these dangerous people, out on the streets. And these are happening in states where your Second Amendment, my Second Amendment, our Second Amendment has been under attack for multiple years. This is crazy. This is just massively absurd. Absurd, you like that? French, absurd. So I would encourage you to go watch Sergeant Robert Horton, War Castles. There's something deeper happening here, and we gotta realize what this is. Dan Bongino, phenomenal dude, jacked out, like obviously it's real muscle, it's not that fake stuff. Super cool guy. I'd love to connect with this guy, but he explains all these things, you know, most of them fairly simply, if that's the right way of saying it, for most of us, because some of this stuff is framed up in such a way that it's not going to make sense to you and I, because of education, you know, so low on the totem pole. Whose fault is that? So Operation Paperclip, Operation Mockingbird, you know, we've been lied to. I think that, you know, bringing over so many Nazis, man, and letting them flee under the guise of using them for science and research, I have mixed feelings about that. And then we look at Mockingbird, like the idea that, you know, maybe there's so much truth in what we watch that we don't even realize it. That it's been put in a way that you're like, oh, that could never happen. That's not true. Why? It came from someone's imagination. Someone had to think it up, and there's nothing new under the sun. So if it came from here and it came on paper, why couldn't most of it, if not some of it, you know, be fairly true? And they're just trying to make us desensitized to it, you know? I would strongly encourage you guys to go check that out. Out of Shadows. It's a good one. I think it is. You know, why did they bury Flynn? Why did they bury Flynn? They started before Trump. You know, Flynn spoke out about ISIS and about the Middle East and about how, you know, we weren't winning, and how, you know, Barack Obama openly, you know, funded ISIS. And I think there's a lot more going on here. And these things are starting to surface. And this is deeper than Democrat Republic. This is the Republican. This is way deeper than that. This is deeper than all of that. And I think it's gonna surface pretty quick here. I think people were in bed, people here in the United States were in bed with kind of what happened. It was no accident, I don't think. Excuse me, I don't think it was. So I want to encourage you guys to check that out. And why are experts being censored? Why is there such heavy censorship on everything? You know, it's very interesting. I've been looking at Newsom and Cuomo, and these guys, it looks like they're standing with the president. And then the media, the mainstream media, chops it all up and makes it look like they're fighting and feuding and against each other. Oh my gosh. For fear and to control, deceive, divide, conquer. You know, if you don't believe in good and evil, there's something bigger here. And the thing is like this. I think that we have to look at, don't ignore it. It's real. It's real. This is some stuff that you can't see. Quantum physics talks about it, you know, alternate dimensions. You know, I don't want to get too far off topic, but there are things we can't. It's a spiritual warfare. And it's also things that are here in the flesh. And we can't ignore it. We shouldn't let it win by us knowing about it. We know, we breathe, we pray, we believe the Holy Spirit works in us. And we say something. Right? Don't respond in fear and hate. Don't. All right, so cut out a little bit. let's go ahead and finish. Oh, look at that. Let's look more professional. All right. So going back to what I was saying, you know, these governors, they appear. This is what I think I was saying. These governors appear as if they're trying to work with President Trump, but this mainstream media continues to create this division. You know, Newsom and Cuomo, but it's also surfacing that there's been some raw and strange deals done lately with the state of California and the CCP, as well as multiple governors and mayors have ordered people with coronavirus to go for extra help, to go to nursing homes. When we built up so many places for them to go, and even to this point, like there have been multiple locations that have been torn down because they haven't been needed. Like, you know, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling the amount of informational warfare that we're seeing. You know, and now it's looking like, you know, maybe you're in the field and feel free to comment on this, but what it's looking like is more and more. These phases, these whole phase 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, have been established, and each state is looking like they're ready to go. What it's looking like is there's more people who have had this coronavirus than originally anticipated. Like we've been exposed to. There's a lot of evidence to show, and it's coming out, especially with tests. The numbers are going up, positives. And here's the thing too, with the media, the mainstream media is saying, "Oh my gosh, 1,000 more people tested positive," but they didn't say how many people were fine, were without symptoms, right? That you could test and you could have it, but then symptoms, if I'm not mistaken, aren't the same thing. You could have it and not have symptoms, but they're saying to get everybody charged up, like 1,000 people test positive, right? San Diego just retracted a bunch of numbers and they're like, look, like this is, the original numbers on this weren't right. Colorado did it as well. Pennsylvania, there's state after state is coming out and saying, hey, we were wrong. This is not the real count on this. And I have friends that we go back and forth. One of my buddies, we're talking about how on the death certificate, if it says, if they had coronavirus, they should put it. But having it and that being the leading cause of why you passed are not the same thing. And a lot of these hospitals are giving one thing, and then whether or not it's saying that, the mainstream media is twisting it to create more fear. Now you have to ask yourself, if you believe in good and evil, what's the point of creating all this fear? What's the point? Well, it's real. The virus is real. And I would highly encourage you all to think about this. If we didn't shut China down, and President Trump was called a xenophobe, and this and that and this and that, the World Health Organization said, don't do it. Don't do it. Everything's fine. If we didn't cut them off, if we didn't cut Europe off, right? If Charles Lieber, professor of Harvard, wasn't captured and arrested, whatever, and brought up on charges for working with the CCP, receiving, I believe, $50,000 pay bumps from the Chinese Communist Party for multiple years, working with I believe there was two Chinese officers that were arrested under the guise of working as students. What were they doing? What were they doing? Why was it covered for 2 days in the mainstream and then was squashed? Professor after professor after professor, it's coming out that they've been working with the CCP. You know, who's to say the extent of how much damage they've caused and how much they were aiming for? This is a form of terrorism, guys and girls. This is a form of terrorism. This is biological warfare. Is it really that radical to think that? Like, and this does not have to mean that you are against Chinese. I have a bunch of friends that are Chinese. 你好吗朋友我们是海滩美丽 Right? Sounds sort of like Mandarin's supposed to. This is about identifying the people and the government. They're not the same, right? But what's been happening for a long time under our nose is, I think 1949 is when this regime, the CCP, the current regime, was established. And I could be wrong on that. You know, post it if you know. But wow. The fact that Hunter Biden is in bed with them, you know, in business deals, wow. And do they really want Trump? No. They've been raking us over the coals for years. Hundreds of billions of dollars in deficits compared to them. And they're labeled as a developing nation under the guise, well, not guys, but under the World Health Organization and the World Trade Organization. How? They're one of the top economies in the world. Like top. So it's very interesting, you know, and then not only that, but the previous administration told President Trump and his administration not to worry about China, but to rather focus on Russia. And as it sits, they're not, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's not looking like Russia has been the issue. And you could say, well, maybe they messed up by telling them that. Or you could say, well, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't. They were spying the whole time anyway. The whole time. You know, you want to believe, you know, that good outweighs evil, and I think it does, 100%. But you cannot ignore the evil just because you don't want to look at it. I think there's something much more sinister and deep that's going to come out over these emails and next few moments. I think that if you believe, and I want to encourage you, you know, Jesus said, love your friend, love your enemy. You can seek justice without malice in your heart. You can seek true justice without malice, without hate, right? Justice. Right? If there's been a wronging, if there's been assassinations, collusion, spying, treason, sedition, subversion, these all have happened. We need justice. We need justice. You know, the truth must come out. It must. And we can, sorry, I'm watching my battery. And we can do that with grace. We can. Right? This isn't about your race. This isn't about what preference you have for voting. Right? If anything, the mainstream media has lied about so much of this. They're saying, oh, you know, only white people, vote for Trump. That's bull. That's bull, man. Some of my favorite commentators aren't even white. They're black. Right? There's people that are gay, that love Trump, LGBT community, different religions that love Trump. So that whole thing has to be squashed. There's a lot of women that support Trump. A lot. That whole thing has to be squashed. We have to come together. We have to. This is how we save our country. And then how we show other countries to stand up to their system of oppression, which is deeply tied to the financial system, deeply tied to the financial cartel of the world. It's not looking like just a theory. It's looking like actual truth behind it all. You know, we look at it. These riots, these protests have been happening all year last year, the year before, country after country, boiling to the surface. We thought one thing, but now it's looking like it was all connected, guys. It's all connected. We're under psychological warfare. We're under biological warfare. We're under financial warfare. We're under economical warfare. This is a multi-dimensional, multifaceted warfare. We can't ignore it. I don't think turning the other cheek is one thing, but allowing everything to just happen and not stand up for truth and justice, I think we've been led to believe that means you have to be a sheep for this governing body. I think we have to be God's sheep, right? But I think if you are a sheepdog, you're called right now to look through all of the bull, to maybe think about how much identity you have with the mainstream media, right? It's very important, I think. Right? We identify with this. I know I'm talking to somebody out there. I know someone's sitting on the left of the aisle. Someone's already super upset that I'm even talking about this stuff. I think we have to look at our identity, right? I think it's very important to believe that there's a spiritual warfare happening. That there are things in the flesh in the moment. That this is not just whoopie doopie, right? This is like, it can be even broken down to modern quantum physics, right? This whole thing. Most religions believe this as well. Not all. There's something else happening here. We have to awaken to it. Breathe, because it's going to be painful. That red pill, Matrix, right? That red pill, it's going to be painful. But we can take it now, or we can take it later. I believe we should take it now. I believe we should look through it. Pray that God continues to strengthen us, heal us, the Holy Spirit work inside of us. Just entertain me for a second. Do it. Do it, whether you believe or not. Do it. Step into it. Just do it. Just do it. Acknowledge the soul. You're more than just flesh and bones. I believe Jesus died for us. I believe we have to see that. And he was the lamb. And I think there's a twist in this, is like people think they have to be sheep to the system to show obedience to the law of the land. But the law of the land has been bastardized for a long time. Long time. The law of the land, right? People, this sneaky shadow government action, not just in our country, but in countries over the world. This is not the law of the land. That is not the law of the land. That's a law of tyranny. And nay I say, Luciferian action, guys. This is not right. Jeffrey Epstein, the 70 names, 72, I think, names that are about to get released. Who do you think was in that boat with him? Figuratively speaking. Who do you think came to his island? Who do you think partook? 80,000 kids go missing in the United States every year, 800,000 in the world to sex slavery. 2 million sex slaves in the world. Another 6 million on top of that for labor and etc. Like, who do you think? What do you think was on the emails? What do you think was on Anthony Weiner's laptop, or is? What do you think? Why do you think people, Seth Rich, why do you think people, Isaac Cappy, why do you think they disappear? This is tough stuff to consider, but we have to wake up to this. We have to. And who am I? I'm just a guy, just this one dude. Doesn't have much of a platform at all. So, it's just about being aware, right? I think it's about not letting fear win, not letting hate taint your heart. But we gotta clean. We need a cleansing, y'all. The breakthrough was last year. This is the newness, right? This is the revival that everyone's been praying and hoping for. We don't have to destroy the entire world to get that revival, right? We could have cleansing now, I believe. I think we can. So thank you guys so much for bringing us together. You guys, thank you. I encourage you to do your own research. It's gonna hurt a lot, but I've given you a lot to look at. And you might see a fact checker that's owned by the left or the hard left saying it's not real. But go look. There's just too many things happening right now. Too many. Protect your heart, protect your mind. Ask for God's guidance. Ask for the Holy Spirit to work in you. Whether you believe it or not, I believe it. And I believe enough for us both. I think, sort of. We are blessed. We have His grace. We have His mercies that are new every day. I love you all. I appreciate you more than you know. And if you come at me with hate, it's okay. You will not get hate from me. Right? If you're open to discussing these things, debate and arguing are two different things, I'm cool with that. If you think I'm wrong, cool. Present some information that's not super biased. I love you more than you know. More than you know. And I appreciate you more than you know. And I hope that you allow love inside and truth and justice and wisdom and courage to stand up and do the right thing. We live in great times. This is a historical moment taking place. We are doing this. This is happening. There's a big, big, big thing happening here. Way bigger than we thought originally. When I say we, I mean anyone who's watching. Thank you. God bless you.